Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Talk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Hi, we welcome you to our podcast On Stage with Enterprise Thought Leaders. My name is Kanika Goswami and I'm the managing editor of On Media's 6 B2B enterprise technology platforms. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts, reaching over 1.3 million business leaders worldwide. Today, we'll be speaking with Saugat Sindhu. He's a senior partner, global head, strategy and risk practice, cybersecurity and risk services at Wipro. He leads a team of diverse professionals, providing clients with business advisory, security, and privacy enablement services. Saugat, I will not keep on talking about you. I want you to introduce yourself to our audiences.
Yeah, thanks, Kanika. I'll keep it short and simple. I'm based out of DC and I run the consulting business for cybersecurity and risk services at Wipro globally. So thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I just also wanted to add prior to joining Wipro, Saugat was a director in KPMG's risks consulting practice, focused on cyber strategy and transformation, among other things. His major industry experience focus includes media, technology, and telecom. Anything you would like to share with us with what's happening in the strategy and risk practice at Wipro right now, Saugat?
Yeah, I would say, Kanika, that it's an interesting time to be a part of the strategy business within Wipro, with all the generative AI and all the capabilities around AI taking center stage. How our clients evolve, how we evolve our services to cater to these new capabilities. It's a very interesting time right now. So that's definitely in the forefront of us right now, and also things that our clients keep asking us.
Oh, good to know. So, my first question to you would be: the strength of the cybersecurity posture of any organization is as much as its weakest link. Employees are the weakest link to every organization's cybersecurity posture. So, what are the strategies that CISOs can embrace to create cybersecurity awareness throughout the organization, throughout the employees of the organization? I must say, what do you think they should do to make sure that that doesn't slip up?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, right? Because typically we see that cybersecurity awareness is seen as a checkbox item where you do an annual training and that's about it. And there's not, a very heavy push from the leadership, so to speak, from the CXOs of the company and the board of directors, if you may want to say. So that needs to change, right? Board of directors and the CXO leadership needs to be engaged in any kind of awareness and training. And once employees see, their leadership being so engaged in all things cybersecurity, they are more vested, so to speak, in the trainings and in any kind of awareness. And secondly, I would say is to make the awareness exercise a bit more interactive. We see a lot of our clients participate in gamifications, cybersecurity games, trivia, quizzes, so on and so forth. So they are more involved in it. And you can make it scenario based so that someone learns, the negative effects of if something goes wrong, rather than just doing a quick quiz after sifting through a few slides. I think that's something we advise our clients on, and we should make sure that as an organization we put enough emphasis on awareness being a bit more interactive.
What role does a CISO play in the boardroom, and how can CISOs communicate effectively and transparently with the board members to make them understand the cyber risks and the threats to their business? What is the kind of impact that a CISO can have on the board for making the right decisions for a better cybersecurity resilience?
Yeah, I think the CISOs are very important members of the leadership team, and they need to be business enablers in the boardroom. Cybersecurity is not audit or internal audit. So there's a fine line of difference there. And as much as, CISO is seen someone of an enforcer, they need to be seen more as an enabler to the business. And, CISOs need to have a very direct, effective, and transparent communication with the board members when it comes to quantification of everything that they're doing. And when I say quantification, what I mean is quantification of risks to the organization. Some of the board members will be more closer to cybersecurity risks. Some of them may be closer to, reputational risk, financial risk, so on and so forth. But if a CISO is able to stitch that story together and quantify it for the audience of the board, I think that goes a long way. And I think that's what's needed because, in the situation in the market that we are in right now, with the threat landscape changing, with new capabilities coming into play, I think making sure that message is articulated well in the boardroom is very important.
That is true. So, which is one of the reasons why maybe security practice heads and the CISOs need to have a seat on the board table, don't you think?
They do, and we don't see it often. We do see it quite a bit in Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies, and there's a new role that has been created in a lot of organizations, which you may have heard of, Chief Risk Officer, right? So there needs to be a bit of a marriage between the risk officer, the security officer, and the internal audit team, so to speak. Because if they all sing the same tunes, it has a better impact at the board level, right? And cyber risks are very tangible. There are impacts. You can have reputational damage, you can have regulatory fines, so on and so forth. And if you are able to quantify that in context of your business, that goes a long way.
Correct. And when you say risk officer, there, of course, a part of their responsibilities is compliances as well.
Correct.
So it's really an all-encompassing kind of a role. So yes, of course.
Yeah.
So now we moved a bit to technologies. What is the role of artificial intelligence in cybersecurity to see? Does it help businesses to prevent cyber risk or expose them to, save them from being exposed to significant threats? And if it helps, how can businesses use AI to stay safe from significant bigger threats, which can impact the business quite a bit? If it is exposed, what are the best strategies to stay secure from the risks that is exposed by generative AI technology? So it's kind of a round, it's a kind of a loop. The same technology exposes the business, and then AI has to help probably to come back on track. So your comments on.
Yeah, it's just like anything with technology, right? A few years ago, we were talking about cloud in a very similar vein. And now it's AI, right? So in terms of AI, you can obviously use it to strengthen defenses and shorten response times within our cyber processes because it has the ability to recognize patterns, make decisions based on existing data sets and past cyber events, and then, identify false positives and logs, which has been a problem for cyber professionals for quite some time. So it can be seen as something that complements and supplements your cybersecurity measures when you talk about detection, response, and remediation. And then, something that not a lot of people talk about as it relates to AI is around behavioral science, right? We just talked about cyber awareness a little bit. How do you inject AI into behavioral science of your employees to create a better awareness campaign and look for more insider threats, right? Those are some of the things that AI can help you with as well. And when it comes to generative AI, the risks really are around the foundations of the data, the models, right? So effective access control, data security measures are very important. Making sure that the sensitive data used in generative AI models are removed and identified adequately is very important. You don't want that becoming public at any time. And lastly, misuse and misinformation of data through generative AI models is a big problem. So I'm sure you have seen some of the things that have happened with the AI models available in the marketplace right now, whether it is Google or Microsoft. And that can only be solved through adequate governance processes. So NIST and OECD have come up with a few frameworks out there that organizations need to adapt to and then sort of amalgamate it into their generative AI capabilities.
Correct. What do you think are the biggest cybersecurity threats that businesses need to be aware of today? What are the best strategies and technologies that they can, organizations can implement to stay secure from those threats? Now, there are standard tools and there are standard practices and policies which CISOs need to follow. Would you be able to think of any innovative or new technology that has, evolved very recently, which can really help in this scenario? Anything that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think as we look forward, there are a couple of threats that have sort of remained from the past, and they have just sort of evolved. Infrastructure related issues continue to be a pain point. Supply chain and security of your supply chain is a big thing in the marketplace right now. And then obviously building resilience into your business processes, right, from a cyber perspective. Those things are forever there, and they're not going anywhere in terms of focus areas. The new threat landscape that has been exposed now is as a result of wide adoption of AI, right? Specifically generative AI. And I think, we talked about some of the things that we need to do as it relates to generative AI, but I think for the most part, majority of generative AI issues can be solved through strong governance. So, having a COE of sorts, where you have the legal team, you have the CISO team, you have the business teams and the HR teams, because generative AI capability should be, allowed for all the employees. They all sit and make a case for generative AI capability and sort of envelope the risks around it, thereby putting some guardrails around the use of generative AI. I think that's very important and it's needed. And in terms of some of the technologies that are out there, I've seen a lot of success being had in the marketplace when it comes to the use of machine learning with agentless scans to identify data types in your network and so on and so forth. I think that has helped preventative and detective measures quite a bit in the marketplace. And I think we should continue to invest in those areas.
Right. And now the cliched question: what do you see the cybersecurity landscape like in the next 5 to 7 years, which is like really, really, really long away from now? So, what do you think? How things are going to change? How is the landscape going to change? How are the companies going to be prepared for it? What are the technologists like yourselves and your organizations doing about it? You must certainly be having a plan in place for what's to come. There will be some kind of predictive abilities happening there, right? So would like to share some of them with us.
Yeah, I think AI obviously takes center stage in everything in the next 5 to 7 years, and you have to think about it in terms of how that evolves from a process, people, and technology perspective, right? On one hand, the power of AI reduces a lot of the manual labor that was required to run cyber processes. On another hand, the exploits that can be had through some of the new AI technologies that puts companies at severe risk of misinformation and reputational damage, specifically in context of competition that companies are going through right now. So from that perspective, aligning or sort of creating your cyber program where each of your cyber capabilities, whether it is zero trust, whether it is your identity and access management, or your governance, risk, and compliance, all of those different capabilities that exist within a CISO's portfolio now need to account for AI and specifically generative AI, and how you can enhance your cyber posture through generative AI is a question that everyone will want answered in the next 5 to 7 years. And then
Do you see?
also,
Please go on. Please.
and also just making sure that the fundamentals of infrastructure security that's still maintained.
Right. No, I was just a little curious. There has been a lot of conversations that have been around regulations for AI usage, compliances, and all of that, especially in the US market. What is your take on that? Do you think it's going to change anything? Do you think it's going to help?
It will certainly help, and all of the regulations that are coming forward, I think they are looking at governance first. I mentioned OECD, I mentioned NIST. I don't think anyone wants to gate the capabilities of AI right now. They just want to govern it and sort of make sure that it is used for the right purposes. And I think that's where we will land. If you stifle the capabilities and the raw power of AI, you're not going to get the benefits that you want out of AI. So the best thing you can do is make sure that it is used in the right context and it is used on the right data, so that people don't misuse it. So I think that'll continue to be a thing. And then privacy is going to be a big thing as it relates to AI, because so much of data is involved, so much of personal information is involved, right? You think about it, we always talk about biases in the data models, right? Removing that bias, making sure that companies don't have any unfair advantage when it comes to marketing and trending of marketing data using AI. Those are the things that the regulators are going to work on and make sure that everything is sort of used within context of the business.
One last thing, and it just struck me, so I thought I should ask you: would a good, strong governance, strong regulatory compliances in place also help to reduce the security risk of maybe a generative AI or any other type of AI that is being used? Would there be any
Absolutely, right? So you always go from left to right. Like, you have the softer controls and then you have the harder controls. The softer controls are the governance. So if you are going to prevent people from doing bad things and you tell them that, hey, there are repercussions if you are going to do bad things, then the chances are that 80% of them will probably not attempt it. There will be 20% that will still attempt it. And that's where your harder controls come into play, right? Where you have your access controls, your data security controls, so on and so forth. So governance is definitely going to play a very large hand and a heavy hand in everything that happens around AI, because everyone is sort of involved in the generative AI business, right? HR is involved, legal is involved, the CISO organization is involved, and most importantly, the business wants to use it because they can be more efficient, more profitable. So yeah, I would say I definitely see it coming.
So those are the questions I had. Is it something we are missing? Is there something else you would like to share with our audiences? Saugat, something you guys may be working on? You think something is happening in the next step, some kind of evolution?
I think the interaction or the intersection of cloud and AI is an interesting one, right? That we have sort of started talking about, because everything is infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, or SaaS. They have their own capabilities around generative AI and AI built into their platforms, but making sure that your security envelope covers that cloud boundary, and then the AI boundary within that cloud boundary is an interesting topic that we are looking into, and making sure that clients address that ahead of time before fully enabling generative AI in their ecosystems.
That's interesting. It's the kind of interesting thing I was looking for. Thank you so much, Saugat, for your time. And I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much for
Yep. Thank you for having me, Kanika.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates and new content.